Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hi!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411, where we talk with Parry Shen.
I still can't believe that we talked to him.
He was so much fun. It's so nice because, okay, I know that we got so mad with Brad.
But he's not Brad.
No.
You have to remember.
But you can see that because it's like, okay, you can see the good person, and then he's like a legit good guy.
Yes.
So it helps because it's not like, you know, sometimes you do see the bad guy and you're like, they can't really be that bad in person. And then you're like, oh, they're not nice.
Right.
You know, no. Like, Parry is the exact opposite of Brad.
Which is amazing that he can play that awful and still be a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that Brad's kind of like a smart bad.
Right. That's why we love him and hate him. Because when he's playing with Wiley, you're like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet. I love you. Or how in love he is with Lucas.
Yeah.
I want a man to be that in love with me. And then you see him do this stupid stuff that you're like, Brad, what are you doing? Come on.
You just want to like smack him and be like, seriously, come on, get it together.
And he said he felt that way when he read some of the scripts too.
Yep.
So it's not just us.
And we didn't just talk about Brad. We got to talk about some of his other projects that he's worked on and very vaguely heard about something he's going to be coming up. And I want to know so badly what it is.
I can't wait. As soon as we find out, we'll have to throw that out there for everyone to check out because it sounds very exciting.
It does. So enjoy our conversation with Parry. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. I liked your little standby.
Oh, before I came on?
I'm Shannon.
I'm Amanda.
Hey there.
Hey. Thanks so much for agreeing to talk with us. We're really excited.
No problem. My pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
So what have you been doing during COVID? Keeping busy?
Making a home gym. I've been proud that I haven't missed a day since quarantine. As soon as they locked down, I started just slowly building a gym, just from jumping rope to getting a few weights, then exercise bands, and then to a bike, and then a full-on punching bag, and so it's legit. So now I'm looking to cancel my membership because I don't need it anymore, and it's really convenient to just literally, if at 11 p.m. at night I decide, you know what? I just want to hop in real quick and hit the bag for like a half an hour. I can do that. I'm in the best shape of my life because it's just so convenient, and I stay longer doing it because I've got like good music in there. I've got and TV, so it's just like it's been great. It's having an extra room in the house, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's perfect timing because Brad's gonna get buff on the jail yard and everything. So
hand in hand, yeah. He gets, yeah.
I mean, you've been building your gym and everything while you've been in quarantine, but you have a nice family with you too.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a family. We're spending a lot of time together, and now we've devised a system where certain days are that person is responsible for the entertainment for the night. So, that's everybody has their turn of showing either movies that they want people to see or games that they want people to do. And so that's been fun to sort of be forced to do, know?
Yeah. Well, just to be able to slow down. You guys are still really, really locked down. Like you're still staying in shelter, right?
Yes. Yeah. Cause the numbers are in California are worse than New York's now. So yeah. So California wins. Haha.
No, it's okay. So we watched your movie, Better Luck Tomorrow.
Okay.
How was it doing that? I mean, you weren't 16, 17 playing that role. So how was that?
Let's see. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty fortunate that with, I guess, being Asian, that basically I'm always like 10 to 15 years of how old I really am, aging backwards. So I was like almost hitting 30. So I was playing teenager. So that's about the right range. So, and I did look about, 15, 18-ish. And that's what I was being cast for. A lot of in my early career, even though I was like, mid 20s, I was in high schools a lot at, the sets were locker rooms or a desk in a classroom. So it wasn't too much of a stretch from what I was used to, but that definitely was a amazing experience because I got that movie probably 6 years of doing acting, and I was starting to get frustrated with just type of kind of the roles that I was sort of being exposed to and getting a chance to even do. And at first, when you're starting your career, you're like, I'll take anything. This is amazing, but then after a while you start sitting back and like you're getting auditions for something for the next day and you're looking at it and it's like the same delivery boy or talking in an accent or knowing martial arts. And it's just very like you start seeing like the bigger picture. You're like, whoa, wait a second. I'm only coming in for like 1 or 2 lines and delivering food. I'm not really part of the narrative of the story. And it's frustrating because I train with everybody else at the best acting schools. And this is not what I wanted to do, to just come in and say, here's your delivery and not really move the narrative along. So when Better Luck Tomorrow came along, that was the first time where they said, I want you to read for this character, Ben. And I would open the script and Ben is literally on page 1. He's the main guy. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't really think about it because usually when I'm auditioning for something, it's like, okay, you come in on page 47. It's like, you're like, where am I? And then you're out at page 48, and you're done. So that was sort of a huge sort of, you're like being empowered and going, you know what? Yeah, I've paid my dues. I deserve, and I can carry, I can be more than just what I've been going out for. So that was sort of a huge turning point for me with Better Luck Tomorrow.
I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of almost like if Clerks had met Can't Hardly Wait, met Reservoir Dogs.
Right. Yes. Because it's very dark. Yeah.
Well, and it was loosely based on a true story.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. About these high school students committing a murder. And actually, it's weird so we just celebrated, I think, our 15th anniversary in 2017, and we had this big screening at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. And I had actually met someone goes, "Hey, Parry, I want to introduce you to this guy named Kern, and he is actually the guy that your character is based on in Better Luck Tomorrow, and he just got out of prison."
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was so trippy because I had so many questions for him, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, this guy's a convicted murderer, So, but the only reason he got out was because he wasn't responsible. He was there, he was observing it all. He didn't actually commit the act, but all of his other friends are in prison for life, and so he, and I sort of asked him kind of like what was true, what liberties did the film take, and what actually happened. And so that was fascinating. And so that was interesting also because we're the same age. So our lives took a departure after high school. I went to college, he went to prison, and for the next 20 years, I whatever. And so now we were converging, and it's fascinating just how one moment can change your life. You know?
How did you prepare for that role, given that basically it sounds like a lot of the opportunities you had before were just stereotypical roles? Yeah, so
I've been training the whole time, so I was primed and ready to go, and that film let me exercise all the acting muscles that I had. I'm like, if this movie doesn't do well, this is all I have, this is pretty much all I have at that moment, so I gave it my all. I didn't go out for pilot season because the movie was shooting during pilot season, and so it turned down a lot of potential big roles. But again, all the roles that I was going out for on a pilot was the emasculated tech guy, who was really good at the numbers, but then as soon as a woman walked by, he wouldn't know what to say. And it's the same thing over and over again. And it was like, okay, yes, it would be a lot of money if you would get this role. But at the same time, it's like, if I had a choice, I'd rather do the Better Luck Tomorrow part that I wasn't getting paid very much. It was, an independent project. And I remember my agents were giving me crap and saying, you're turning it down for this little role. And then like, I think I had an audition with Woody Allen, who wanted to meet me in New York and wanted to fly me out. And I'm like, I can't, I'm the lead of this movie. I can't do this. And at the time, my agent's like, what movie is this? There's no stars in it. It doesn't make, I'm like, I knew because I'd seen what I was going out for. I'm like, I'm never going to get an opportunity like this again. They come and the script was good. And so I remember wrapping the day on Better Luck Tomorrow, and I flew out to New York to meet Woody Allen, and I flew back within 24 hours just to, because I had shooting the next day. And so, we handled both of it. And at the end, my agent went Better Luck Tomorrow, went to Sundance and got picked up by Paramount Studios. And we were the #1 movie that weekend per screen. And I remember the president of the studio calling me and says, congratulations, being #1 this weekend and being the lead. And it doesn't happen to many people, not even at your level. He's talking about like major stars, and so this is something very rare. You should be proud of it. And my agents, sort of ate humble pie, and they went, you know what, you were right. We didn't know anything about this project. It was so off the radar. And, it goes to show that the littlest things, if you really believe in them and you're going to put the work into it, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, and great things can come from it.
Do you really play basketball?
I don't. I had to train so long and hard just to get, because this is independent film, so there's not a lot of, we don't have a lot of money to waste to burn film. This is before digital, so we're shooting on film, which is very expensive. And I knew that the more I missed, and this guy's supposed to be making free throws, multiple times in a row, and we had to get that on film. So I remember when we were actually shooting, there was a part where he gets frustrated and he can't shoot free throws. So they're like, all right, Parry, we got enough footage of you missing it. You got to start making some. So yeah, the most nerve-wracking one, I think it's a big wide angle, and the whole basketball team of high school students are watching me, and this is the wide angle. You can't cut away, so I have to make 2 in a row at the very least. And so I think it took like 2 or 3 takes, but then I got it on like the 3rd take, I think, and so that was the most nerve-wracking part.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I checked out your website and everything, and you do a lot of speaking tours to help, promote actually using Asian Americans for roles and for, furthering their careers and everything. What are you doing now to adapt, given that, are you able to go do speaking tours right now? Is anyone?
I haven't done speaking tours in a few years now, because I've seen the shift in the sort of the popularity of speakers, that sort of changed the dynamic. Now schools want YouTubers, so that's an interesting dynamic, learning experience. You're like, okay, I'm not getting any more speaking engagements, but I can see who are. But at the same time, there's a lot of Asian American YouTubers who are, and I've heard them speak, and they're coming from a different perspective, but what they're saying isn't any less valid, and it's great that they're doing it. So hold on one second.
Sure.
Sorry, that was my mom. Yeah, we talk once a week, so this was around that time. So I said I'm doing an interview. Nice. So right now I haven't doing many speaking engagements, but I don't think many universities are really able to meet in person anyway. So It's going to have to change. We're probably doing it through Zoom.
I just thought that was really cool. Because did you watch the Netflix series Hollywoodland?
Yes.
Because that was all brought up in there too.
Yeah, and that the reason why I decided to do that speaking engagement tour was because when I was in college, I was one of the officers of my Asian American organization, and we would bring in speakers who were like working in the industry or interesting of note to come in and give their perspective of how they were making it sort of as an Asian American in that particular business. And I remember with Better Luck Tomorrow, knowing what I know, what we had to go through, I wanted to sort of impart some of that lessons to people who are like coming out into the real world in a few years. And for example, like with Better Luck Tomorrow, that everybody loved the script in Hollywood. They said, but you know what? All these characters are Asian American, and there's just no market for that at all. So we'll give you 4 times the budget that you need. We'll give you $1 million. We only needed $250,000. We'll give you $1 million if you change these characters to anything else but Asian. And the director was like, no. So the director maxed out 10 credit cards and went $250,000 in debt. It was a big gamble, but he really believed in the movie. And so I wanted young Asian Americans to know that the playing field, as much as you would think hard work means a lot, all you got to do is do your work. It's like, sorry, race does play a part in it as much as you want or not. You could ignore it, but these are the facts of the real world. And even the poster, if you look at the Better Luck Tomorrow poster, it's a negative image of the characters in a blue background.
I didn't look. I just got it on Amazon Prime.
Right, me too.
Yeah, so if you ever look at the poster, it's a negative image because that way you can't really tell we're Asian on the poster. And that was kind of the reason why it was done. So it's amazing, all these things, and and for the longest time, the only Asian American lead in a feature film, a studio feature film, for the longest time was still me. Like 15 years after the movie. And that's kind of sad. I mean, it was kind of awesome because I had that honor, but it wasn't until, what was it? Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, it took that long. We came out
only recently too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling. And then that movie did well. So Hollywood really only responds to dollar signs, right? So hopefully this changes the narrative and saying, hey, you know what? Maybe there is an untapped market, kind of like when Spike Lee came along and did Do the Right Thing and made so much money. Like, oh, wow, there's a African-American audience here. Let's start making more of those, So it's really, you got to speak that kind of language of money.
And I think even on General Hospital, I mean, so back in the 80s, there was the Asian Quarter.
The Asian Quarter, yeah.
But nothing has really
yeah. I think it's not official, but I think unofficially I've been talking to one of the editors at Soap Opera Digest, and she says, I'm pretty sure you're the longest Asian American running character in soaps, if not definitely male. They're not sure about female, but she's pretty sure that it covers male and female, almost 7 years running. So I was like, wow, that's
sad because it's only 7 years. I mean,
right, yeah, and so it's a great honor to have, and but it's sort of interesting too at the same time.
Yeah. See, I was thinking you could bring back the Asian gang because some of them are in the jail, and then you come back and you're like, okay, fine, I lost.
Yeah, it's there's so many ways he could have gone, and again, he in prison that might be an interesting thing. He meets relatives that that he said that convinced him that, hey, this is your birthright, this organization. And look at how these people at Port Charles treated you, when you're just trying to protect, what was yours, so, and then all of a sudden Brad turns into something else,
Even worse.
So you've done film and you've done TV, and I was able to watch your Doc McStuffins episode because my little one was into it back in the day. So I remember that episode. What has been your favorite? Like, what do you enjoy most?
I actually enjoy voiceovers a lot, only because you can literally be anybody. I'm not confined to what you see here, which is sort of like maybe the nice guy, the boy next door kind of guy, but definitely not the main, villain, because I don't look physically intimidating enough. Like a good example is I did this video game called Sleeping Dogs where I play the main bad guy in the whole video game. And that was amazing because I never got to do that. And it didn't matter what I looked like. We did the motion capture, and on the stage, I'm holding this guy who's like way taller than me. But in the video game, I'm towering over him, so I'm just putting on the voice saying, listen, you punk, and it works. And it is revealed a couple of years ago that they're making a feature film of that video game. And I was like, that sucks because I know I'm not going to be up for the character that I played because I there's no way, I just know how it works. And so it's voiceovers give you a lot of opportunity to do things out of the box and have fun. I mean, playing a toy robot dude, on Doc McStuffins, it's great. But at the same time, I do miss just making a movie. I like the feature film medium because you get to take the time to sort of try different things. But also there's something also said about with soaps where it's kind of like you do the work and it's like, I just want, let's move quickly. And that's kind of great too. I'm sort of letting go and saying, this is what this is kind of the choices that I've made. And so there's something to be said for that as well. Cause I remember when I was doing GH and I was recurring also on NCIS Los Angeles. And so I'd been doing a ton of GH. So I was used to being out within half an hour of shooting because, we only do one take and you have all 4 cameras on you. You knock it out, you're done. And you've done like 20 pages. And I remember then the next day going to NCIS LA, which is very traditional. And we were shooting only 5 pages that day. And it took like 12 hours. And after hour 3, I was like so exhausted because I'd been so spoiled from GH of just I'd be done in 20 minutes, with 5 pages. But it's going to look, really, you're trying different things, you're doing different coverage. And so it was just, pros and cons. But I think ultimately, if I had to do just one, it'd probably be voiceovers just because there's unlimited possibilities for that.
So we have to talk about Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Because we love to hate him like everybody else.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever get the script and you're just like, seriously, guys, can you give me a break?
It was definitely with when I got Wiley. And I was like, oh, this is great because I can tap into my experience with fatherhood, and doting with the child. And I'm really good with kids. The kids really love me. And I'm like, this is going to be great, and it's going to be interesting, softer side of Brad. And then when I read that Wiley, the original Wiley, dies from SIDS the very first day, I'm like, oh, come on. Couldn't give me just a couple days or, just with and showing, what a good father he can be. And it's like, but at the same time, like, oh man, this is really juicy, but I was like, for my character, I'm like, oh, come on, guys, it's maybe after like a month or 2 or something like that. But then people would recognize what he looks like and they would know a switch was made. But so I understand where it came from. But personally, on a selfish side, I was like, oh gosh. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like you said, that would have been great because, we think about it all the time because we get why he did what he did,
right.
Because we're both moms and I still don't think I would steal a baby, but, but you're still in this. I've also never had a friend have a baby that she needs to offload on the side of the road. So, given all those circumstances, I don't know what I would have done.
What direction would you have liked to see them take Brad in? Because now you're kind of stuck in jail for who knows how long.
They might let him out because they're letting out prisoners for coronavirus.
The baby solving is a good enough reason.
They're letting out murderers in real life, so they might let Brad out.
Yeah, I'm like, my crimes are like pale in comparison. I would like to. I have to be careful because if I say something, it may happen and it may not happen because I've said it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
Exactly, because then it might be a really good idea, and then the writer's like, oh no, he already spoiled it.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's one thing I would have liked to have seen, and this wouldn't change anything, would to be I saw that sort of my only redeeming way sort of entering back into things is of referring back to previous history that that Carly has done something similar like this, you know, and would show maybe an understanding. And Bobby did the same with Lucas, you know. So I thought maybe I was like that. I was when I would get the scripts and we'd get worse and worse, you know, he's digging himself deeper in a hole. I'm like telling my wife, I'm like, the only way I think I can get out of this, if I'm going to get out of this, is if they go back on that and Bobby is like the surprising one who's actually on Brad's side, and then that softens it for him. You know, he's still got to be punished for what he'd done, but more empathy might be shown to have some people on his side, and I think that would be a cool twist, you know, to be like, if anybody, you know Carly's going to be pissed off, so it'd be really interesting that she's like, you know what, I'm guilty of the same, or something along those lines. I thought would have been an interesting way, and it still might happen, could happen that way if more time passes, and if they decide to bring Brad back, you know, with that might be an interesting way to coming in.
So you really know your history of General Hospital.
Yeah. I
were you a fan
time
before you were on it?
I did watch a few episodes. Mostly, it kind of like it comes in spurts, you know. I think the first time was when I was about 7, when they were Luke, Laura, and Robert were on Cassadine Island, and that was my first introduction to it. And I was like a huge fan of Tristan, and I was like, who is this guy? You know, I'd never heard of the Australian accent before, you know, so that was new, and he's got like no shirt on, but he's got a gun holster. I'm like, this guy's badass, you know, and so I remember writing his name, because like there's no DVR, so like I remember his name would flash, and I'm like, I wrote in like my Charlie Brown encyclopedia, Tristan Rogers, you know, because I didn't want to forget that name, you know. And for a while I'm like, yeah, Tristan Rogers, he's my favorite actor, and like, you know, not many people outside of soaps would know, you know, so I kind of like that. I had like the inside thing, scoop about it. So actually when I met Tristan full circle, you know, when I got on the show, I told Tristan that story, and I said, I've never asked for an autograph before ever, but could you sign my encyclopedia thing? And,
that's so sweet.
So I've posted that on social media. So you see my 7-year-old writing Tristan Rogers in print, and his, you know, flourish, you know, signature to close that out. And then later in the 90s, in college, it was during the Jagger storyline, Antonio Sabato Jr.
How could you not love him?
So that's where I picked up then. So those are kind of like the two moments of me watching the show. But yeah, when they would refer to certain things, I would look up old clips to see what they were talking about, and
that's
so
great.
I knew about. So like when they talked about like Brad being the descendants of the, you know, Mr. Wu, and so I looked that up, so I know who are my Tia Carrere's my aunt, you know, and a lot of those actors are still around. So I was like, I was hoping that they would be reintroduced again. That would have been fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that we're like, okay, they can bring back the Ward family, you know, they can bring back all these different families that have just kind of gone down the rabbit hole,
right,
that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So your relationship with Britt on the show is so cute. Like, especially when you guys would watch the nurses' ball together and everything.
Right.
Was that actually scripted, or were you guys able to improv? Because you guys are hysterical.
Yeah, it's just, I think, kind of one of those happy accidents of discovering chemistry together. And the former head writer, when Kelly was leaving, they were asking him, you know, what are the things that you know are with her leaving that will be affecting the show? And he said he goes, what we really didn't expect was the relationship between Brad and Britt. There was these two schemers who sort of just fell into this nice rhythm, and it was a really nice thing that happened, and that dynamic will definitely be missed on the show. And for a while, you know, I was kind of, you know, you could see it. I didn't have as much screen time because I didn't have somebody to link me, you know, onto the show, because I didn't have any family. The only one was Lucas, really. That was sort of my tie to the show. So yeah, it was before, she was sort of, I was doing this favor for her, changing her lab results. But then when all of that fell apart, the turning point was really that both of them were sort of like ostracized because everybody knew what Britt did, everybody knew what I did, and we were sort of on the outs. And then at the nurses' ball, us just like hanging together and watching, and just this is just sort of, it's like, wow, it's this is working, And then I think the writers, obviously noticed that, and then they started writing us more together, and so I think that's how that happened. And I think we saw a little bit of resurgence with that with the Julian character, Will DeRye. They started pairing us together, and then we sort of had a really cool dynamic, and that was sort of a nice happy accident. It's really fun when that happens, because I generally have good chemistry with everyone I work with, but then there's some with any other actor that you're like, oh, that's a pairing that we didn't know would work. I think with the Elizabeth and Franco, dynamic, right? Yes. Nobody saw that happen, and then suddenly you just put them together, like, oh wow, this is working, but they were two different characters from different storylines that really didn't cross each other's paths. So I think that's really fun when that happens. Yeah.
How do you feel about Britt hooking up with Julian so much when she was last back? I mean, that's your father-in-law.
Yeah, I know. So I shot the scene where my last scene when I'm saying goodbye and she's seeing me off to go to prison, and then later we're all done, and I'm like, I'm talking to Kelly, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm done shooting, for the day. I have no more left. And he goes, oh, I'm shooting some more with Will. I'm like, why? And she goes, because I'm like, those characters have nothing to do with each other. She's like, I hook up with them. And I was like, what? And I instantly wanted to go back and reshoot what we just shot and me give her crap, be like, because I think people wanted to see Brad's reaction to that, yes. To Britt. You're like, what the hell? I think that would have been fun. Just like a little snippet. Brad, people want to see Brad go off on Britt, or at least show how flabbergasted. He's like, are you kidding me?
Great. Yeah, we were definitely waiting for you to just walk in on them or something, and never happened.
Yeah.
What about when you had to perform at the nurses' ball? What was that like?
The first time was again, I think they realized the fun part of Brad, the fun side. So it was very last minute, because all you get the scripts ahead of time, what's being performed, the rehearsal schedule. And then Frank calls me up and says, hey, you're singing at the nurses' ball. Do you know this song? And I'm like, not really. He's like, okay, go look it up and learn it, because we got to shoot it next week. So that was brokenhearted. And so I learned that very quickly, and then we laid it down. And the great part that sort of let me off the hook, that I thought we could have a lot of fun with, is because Brad is throwing out the stage last minute. So there shouldn't be anything that's choreographed. It should be whatever I'm going to do, so right. So everyone's in rehearsal. And I remember I did have a choreographer, because I had dancers behind me that had to do. And then I remember the choreographer was like, okay, so you're going to do this. I'm like, no, I really should just let me do what I'm going to plan something out, because I've always wanted to be in a boy band. And so I know what I'm going to do. And it's what Brad's going to do. And so that worked out fine. And it was fun. And that was really fun, because Fido, Xavier, was a director on that one. And he actually let me have some fun, because I said, I'm going to do this. And I was like, because I should be like, I don't know what I'm doing, Britt, and then I said, and maybe, I don't want to overstep any bounds, but I think that if you go over there and Britt just gives a thumbs up, and then cuts back to me and sort of cheers me on. And then Kelly went with it, with her ultimately dancing and going crazy. And that helped sell the performance, and me just being nervous, which, some of the real nervousness obviously came through too, of not knowing, wow, I'm doing a solo here, you know? So that was an awesome experience. And then the second time it was more, the second time it wasn't as planned as before. Because again, they brought me up because to sing I Want to Marry You. Yeah. So then I was off the hook again. I didn't have to know too much choreography. But yeah, a great time because it's like, I performed several times where I've had to sing and dance. And the great part with this is that the audience has to applaud because it's in the script. You know? So it's like, no matter what you do, you're going to get a great response. So that's always a fun thing to do. You feel like a rock star.
But we're never going to see you on Broadway or anything? Like you're never
No. People ask, like, can you sing? I'm like, I can hold a tune, but no one would actually pay money, I don't think, to hear me sing. So...
Well, we enjoy it, so.
We love the Nurses Ball. That's the best episode.
We miss it this year.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just cool that they got to rerun it, though, with during quarantine.
Well, and then because the past, 3 weeks, they haven't been showing even really flashbacks, because I guess we're back on Monday. Yay!
Right. Yeah, because they need to remind everybody what's actually going on. So
Yeah. But we've been watching Night Shift, which was on, like in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Right.
About 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So we've been watching that instead because we just talked about all the story stuff from May. So we can go back and listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
But what's it like working with the boys? We had interviewed their mom back in February.
I think so, yeah.
And she talked about how much they love you. So
yeah, they're very easy. Kids, they always say don't work with animals or kids because they will always upstage you because they're so unpredictable and will do their own thing, and they're going to be, for that very reason, more interesting than you. And people are going to focus on the kid or the animal. And but from the get-go, and really helps that Jax, how she sort of knows how to handle the boys, because usually parents are sometimes too overbearing and they get in the way. But at the same time, you can't leave them alone either, because the cast and crew oftentimes don't have kids or remember what it's like to have such little kids, and they would ask absurd things for them to do, you know, where it's like, he's a baby, he can't say dada, you know. It's like, are you an idiot, you know? So I've seen that too, because they're just trying to get the shot. And so Jax is really good at knowing when to step in when the baby's like is really fussy, and knowing when to step out and getting out of the shot because the baby is looking for their parent, and they need to be out of eyesight, you know, at a certain point. So she's like, I think like 50 to 60% of why it's so easy to work with them. But at the same time, the boys have a great demeanor and they're very playful, and like they will just react, you know, to certain things, or something, it's a happy moment, they can sense it and they'll smile and they're clapping, and it's appropriate, you know, for the moment. And all I have to do is really just listen and watch. And there's been some really cool happy accidents where like where I'm saying bye to Sam, she's leaving, and one of the boys is going like this.
Aww.
I'm watching him and I just went, yeah, that's right. Bye-bye, you know? And so we got that cool moment. I had a cut on my head from the car accident, and then I'm seeing Wiley, and then one of the boys looks at my cut and goes, oh, boo-boo. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm okay. And then I start up with the lines. So it's great. And I remember when the switch reveal had happened, and I was in the dress, I was getting my makeup done, and so I was no longer working with the boys anymore. He was now officially a Quartermain, and he's a Quartermain mansion. Yeah. And I remember Michael's having this scene with Monica, and they're just having this long ass scene, and Teo or Eric is just playing but at the side, just like with playing with his cars. I'm like, and I'm just fascinated. This is the problem now. I'm more interested in watching that kid not moving and doing everything he's supposed to do for a solid like 25 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. You know, that they're getting this much dialogue without having to stop and then saying, okay, let's round up the kid again, or switch him out for the other kid. They're incredible. I mean, it's unheard of. I mean, I know freaking adults that can't even stay still that long without, talking and interrupting with the scene or being on their phone or something like that. So amazing. Yeah.
We actually talked to her 2 weeks before that because I think we released her interview the week of the reveal.
Yes.
Oh. And we immediately messaged her and we're like, oh my gosh, did you know this was happening like this week? And she's like, yep. And I couldn't say anything and it was killing me.
She is playing some, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Because we don't do spoilers. We try to stay off of the Facebook groups and everything because we like to just be surprised.
Right. Yeah.
When things happen.
Of course.
So that was really, really nice. And she's like, it was killing me because I just wanted to be like, guess what? But I mean, we knew it was going to happen, thankfully, eventually.
Yeah.
They dragged it out long enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been revealed when he had the heart issue. I mean, that was
the
dead giveaway. Oh, Michael had the same thing when he was younger.
Yeah.
2 and 2 together. I guess we don't want to ask if he's coming back anytime soon because we want to know, right? Or we want to know, but we don't want to know.
Yeah, right.
We would be okay if Brad got released from jail, though, because
okay,
yeah, that would be really good.
What do your kids think about the fact that you're on TV? Do they care, or it's normal life?
It's pretty much normal life. I mean, there are certain shows that maybe I might go out for that they're interested in, that because they watched that show, and then I get really disappointed in myself because I didn't book it. But there's sometimes they'll watch something and at this point there's always I will know at least one person from any show that's on TV because I've just been working for over 20 years that it just happens where you have worked with them in some other capacity. So they're like, do you know this person? I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. And they're like, oh my God. So it's through association of who I've worked with.
You're still cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's hard to attain.
Do either of them want to follow in your footsteps?
I don't think so. They're definitely both creative, but I don't think any of them want to be an actor, which I'm totally fine with. But I would love for them to do something in the creative field, where they're, the little one, my youngest, she does a lot of like arts and crafts and stuff like that, and they're really cool. And I can see that she has a really good eye for that stuff. And then the older one dances and she sings. But this is a hard business to be in. So you can't just act. It's kind of like you have to be a pretty savvy business person to always have several irons in the fire so that, you're not depending on one sole thing for your livelihood.
Yeah. So we saw a little doggy running around in the back earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name?
Roxy. She's mom's a poodle, but she's a rescue, so don't know what dad was, but we're thinking probably a terrier or Yorkie.
Aww.
So something like that. Yeah.
Cute. So what's been your favorite experience so far in General Hospital?
Probably the nurse's ball, the first one. Because that one, again, you just felt like a rock star. But kind of like where I had the most fun in terms of doing a storyline was when Brad propositioned Michael.
Okay.
Because he was kissing Kiki, because I was like, oh man, this guy's such a douchebag. And I was having so much fun just like twisting it and making Chad and Michael just so uncomfortable, and I remember and I had just been on the show for just 2 months at that point. So it was only supposed to be 4 episodes, but I was just having fun with what they were giving me. So the writers were just writing me more stuff. And I remember Frank just pulling me aside. And after I was doing it, propositioning Michael, and he's like, he was just went, "You are so good in this." and that's what you want the boss to say, He's like, right? You're just so good in this. You're having so much fun. You're great.
Well, it's always fun to see you guys. We can tell when you're legit having fun with each other, right? Mm-hmm. When you can tell when someone really, really just enjoys being on a scene with the other person. So
right. Yeah.
it definitely comes through. Do you have anything coming up that you'd like to share with?
It's interesting. I just booked 2 things yesterday, but one I can't. I just signed a non-disclosure agreement. But it's a project with one of the biggest directors in the world, and it's pretty awesome. I was like, oh, come on, I got to get this. So it was just fun just to meet with that person one-on-one, just to work out that scene. And so, yeah, I just found out this morning that I got it. So that will be announced
Congratulations.
soon. Thank you. Yeah.
Forward to seeing what that is.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool project.
Well, so it sounds like things are still kind of moving along, though, with at least trying to get projects underway and.
Yeah, slowly but surely. But, everyone's kind of been pretty good with, from my friends that I've been working, everybody to try and do the best in terms of testing everyone. I have to say, I'm not that excited to have to go through what I've seen people go through with the testing with the, I'm assuming it's up the nose because that's the most thorough one. But I mean, to make sure we all feel safe, I'll feel safe that I know that other cast members have had to go through that, so.
Yeah. And I think that's what, at least a lot of the fans that we've been seeing, I mean, of course we miss GH, but none of us want you guys going back to work and getting sick.
Right.
We're good. Although we have been saying they should do something where, did you watch a bunch of people put on Quibi, the Princess Bride piece together?
I heard about it, but I didn't actually see how it turned out though.
It's so cute. I mean, it's very rough, it's definitely someone standing in their backyard with their video camera, and they edit it all together. Like, it would be great because you could go out in your backyard and shoot some scenes as Brad in prison garb and everything, and it'd be something unique and interesting. But I mean, we're getting new shows, so they figured it out. But if it has to, you want to pass that along to Frank, that would be really cool. That'd be really, I think it'd just be really unique to see.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's you definitely, I mean, I miss seeing everybody, and it's just like, it's amazing. So much time has passed where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been almost half a year since I've seen some of these people,
Well, yeah. Cause you were gone, like a month or 2 before?
Yeah. My last episode I shot actually was January,
Wow.
Those things aired. My episodes aired in March. So end of January, I haven't seen anybody since end of January, basically.
Okay, one last question, because we're always wondering this. Where does Lucas go? He's there, and then he's just gone. Where does he go? Do you know?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean,
you were kind of single parenting it there for a while, because he was always off screen.
Right. Yeah. And I think it was unfortunate because the only thing that it was basically, because you would have to show Brad keeping this lie and basically Lucas can't be present for any of that, right? When he's bearing a soul. And I think that's why that was really great to then be paired up with letting in Julian on The Secret, because he needed to unload and get some of that out because he didn't have Britt for that to happen with. So that was important. And he definitely couldn't confide in Lucas. So I think it was sort of a unfortunate circumstance of the storyline where Lucas basically had to be in the dark, and which meant that he was not, he wasn't shown as much. He couldn't be shown as much, There's only so many times where otherwise he's going to look idiotic, him being there all the time and not noticing, all these things going on, right, behind his back.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Nice meeting you guys.
You too. Yeah. And, good luck with your project that you just landed. And
thank you.
We can't wait to see what it is.
Yes. Good talking to you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so there you go. That was our conversation with Parry. He was just so normal. I just love when actors are normal. And I feel like I could talk to them forever about anything. Like, we had our questions and he stuck to it. But I feel like if we would have had another 3 hours, we could have just talked about hey, what are you doing on Saturday night? Blah, blah, blah.
Right. Like if the dog had stayed, we would have definitely been like, so let's play with the doggy.
Exactly.
Here's my cat. Where is my cat?
I don't know. Cookie didn't join us today.
She didn't. She normally does.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. You must have done something to make her mad today. But anyway.
Why do you think I made her mad?
That's your fault. I couldn't have done anything to her.
She might be sleeping. She could be actually playing with one of the 3 other people that are in the house.
Okay. If you say so.
I'm a good cat mom. Grandma. I'm a cat grandma.
Oh, okay.
Technically.
I'm never putting the word grandma on my name, so no. Anyway, yes. Awesome interview. So sweet. I still just can't believe that we get these people.
He was so gracious, you know.
Yeah.
It was just
like when they thank us at the end for talking to them. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us.
Yep.
So exciting.
And I do hope that Brad isn't gone.
They have to bring him back. I think our idea, or as we were talking to him, I thought of it when he's talking about his friendship with Britt. Britt has good connections. Why can't one of her connections get him out of jail?
Right.
There's too many possibilities.
I really do think that there's a way. Because if they bring in the coronavirus, which, to be honest, where we have one of the main characters is an infectious disease doctor, I do think that they have to bring it in.
It only makes sense.
If Finn was not there, I would not be...
Right.
But, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I think they should bring coronavirus in. And then, sure, Brad can get out of jail early because they're letting some people out because of all that. But even if they can't do it for those reasons, he has plenty of shady people in his corner that can figure out a way to get him out. Absolutely. So I'm not ready to let him go.
I hope he turns on now.
Oh, that would be
good. I hope that's what gets him out.
That would be good.
Because then Carly would totally be on his side.
You're right. We will see.
Yep. Or we have already seen, because we recorded this before we got new episodes. So who knows?
There you go.
Yeah, because we did not ask him if he was one of the ones going back to work. Although I felt like from one of the phrases that he said about how people that he knows that have gone back to work have been having to get tested.
Yes.
So
guess we'll find out.
Yep. So join us next Monday as we recap the first new week of episodes that we've had in May to June, July. Guys, it's only been 2 months. I mean, only, but it's...
No, it feels like so much longer.
May 21st.
Feels like so much longer. I know your math is right, but it still feels like so much longer. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, as long as they stay safe and healthy.
I agree. I just want my GH.
I understand.
So have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.